everybody. Okay, so in this video we're going to be looking at how to make this bubu. This bubu has an inner belt, so that's what we're going to be doing. This bubu is the most requested, and so therefore I'm going to be showing you how to make that really neatly, nice finishing in this video. So let's look at our measurements first. These are our measurements. This one here, leave this one. We're going to be needing our nape to sleeve, that's 23 inches. We are going to be needing our bust, waist, hip, not necessarily sharp, but I just put it there. We're going to be needing our front neck, back neck, dress length, shoulder to knee, and then the sleeve opening towards the end. We're going to be needing all of this. So let's get right into it. So the first thing we're going to do is to mark our nape to sleeve, which really determines the width of this bubu. So my nape to sleeve is 23, so I'm going to be marking 23 here. And then my shoulder to my waist, which is a measurement that I did not remember to write over there, is 17. So we need the shoulder to waist because that's where your belt is going to sit on the inside. So my shoulder to waist is 17. I'm going to mark it here as well. And then I'll use a ruler. Okay. And then my shoulder to knee, what I have here is 42. So I'm going to mark 42. Also, please, this one that we are drafting now, or this one that we are doing now, is the back of the bubu. When we do the back, then we use the back to get the front. Okay, so the sleeve opening, like I said, I want the sleeve opening to be 16 inches round, meaning that when I mark it here, it's going to be 8 inches. But here I'm going to be marking 9 inches instead of 8. So I'll mark 9 inches. So by the time I'm done sewing, I would have 8 inches left. So I'll mark 9 inches. And then from this 9-inch mark, that's where we'll now begin to we'll now draw the curve that we need to do all the way to the bottom. So we're going to be joining from this point. Let me draw this out. So from this point, we're going to be joining to our knee measurement. So now for the knee measurement, we are going to be marking our hip measurement on that knee, and then we'll add some allowance so that we're able to wiggle around. Let me reposition my camera so you can see what I'm about to do. So this is my knee line. This line is my knee line. And then we are going to be joining from here to here. But before we join from here to here, let's figure out the measurements that we want to use here. So my hip measurement is 44 divided by 4. That gives me 11. So I'm going to mark 11. This is at my knee area. I'm going to be using my hip because obviously your hip is bigger than your knee area, so you're going to have more room. And then I would add 3 inches. This 3 inches is for room, meaning that around the dress, we've added 12 inches, which is very okay. So now we are going to be joining this opening to this point. So the bubu is not straight cut, it's like a slant cut. I'm going to join this point to this point. You can just use your hand. You don't necessarily need a ruler for it. But then at this point, please come in a bit because we need it to have some form of structure at that point, because you know we'll be folding in. So it's going to look something like this. Like this. So you can see that it's not a straight cut, it is kind of curved. If your hip curve is like really long, mine is not, you can use that to make. So this is what it looks like. So we have the curve from here to here. The next thing we'll do is just to extend this all the way down, and then we'll mark our neckline. So I'm just going to measure what I have here to here. That's 14. I'll measure the same thing here. And then join this to this. So that's that about the bottom of this. This is for the back. So now let's work on our neckline. Great, so this is the upper part of our neckline, which will go like this. And then What we have in the notebook is 3 by 1 inch. So I'm going to mark 3. And I would mark 1. And I'll join both of them like this. And then I'll cut that out. So I'll use a pin to secure. So now we're going to cut out our back piece and then we'll use that to cut the front. This is our back piece. I'm going to place the fabric again so that we can cut the front. So this is my back piece and this is the front piece. So the difference between the back and the front is that the front has like a 1 inch sewing allowance here. So I'm going to mark 1 inch from top to bottom. I'm going to place my back piece on that line to be sure that what I have is 1 inch. So now I can cut out from the top all the way here, and then after cutting out, we'll now come and do the neckline for the front. All right, so this is my back and this is the front. So you can see my 1 inch sewing allowance. So we're going to mark our neckline. From this, my 1 inch line, I would mark 3 inches by another 3 inches. You can make yours wide, can do whatever you want really, but I just want 3 by 3. Okay, so I would cut this like this. And then I'll use a pin to secure it because the next thing we'll do now is to cut the facing for this front. Before we cut the facing, let's talk about the slits. So your slit can start from wherever you want it to start or stop. Basically wherever you want it to start. So my own slit is going to be starting from my own slit rather would be stopping at 37. So from my shoulder to 37, that's where my slit is going to start. All the way to the end is going to be open. So I'm going to show you that part when we get there. I just needed to mention it because I didn't mention it earlier. So let's get fabric for cutting the facing. Please, I need you to pay attention for the facing cutting part because it's really what makes the difference. Okay, so you know that I like to use a different fabric for my facing. So this is a different fabric. So I'm going to measure from here to here. I just want this facing to be about like 2.5. So that 2.5 plus here gives me like 6.5. So I will measure. Okay. So I have enough of what I need. So now I would place this like so. And this is the wrong side of the fabric. And then I will place my cloth on top. So before we do anything here, we need to determine our slits, like how is it going to be. So if you look in the picture, you can see that the slit is not too long. So I'm just going to use 4 inches for my slit. So you should stop somewhere here. Yeah, so 4 inches is okay for the slit. And so I would place this like this. I would also like for the facing to have some room here. So maybe another 4 inches is okay. So I'll just pin this down. Okay, and so I will cut from this facing, or rather from this our 1 inch sewing allowance, I'll cut like that. And then I'll turn this to the back like this. Remember I said I wanted just 2.5, so I'll mark 2.5 here all the way. And my slit is 4 inches long here. So meaning that from here, I will go like this. I'm also going to, when I'm marking here, I have to take into consideration that 1 inch because we are going to sew it in. We're not going to, it's not going to be on the outside of this cloth. So let me rule that 1 inch. out. So now whatever we're doing is from here. So I would mark 2.5 here. Great, so my facing would look like this. So this is how my facing would look when we are done. And then the next thing we'll do now is to cut the facing for the back neck. And then if you actually want to use bias to do this turning of your back neck, you can. But I'll use facing just so that, you know, it looks clean. In case I need to give this cloth away, it looks really clean. So yes, I'll cut the facing for the back and then we'll cut our belt now. Okay, so let's cut our belt. So my belt is going to be 17 inches long and it will be 2.5 inches wide. So 17 inches long means that this would be the length from here to here. That'll be the length. And then 2.5 inches wide means that it's going to be this wide, just so that it's bold enough to hold and accentuate your waist at the back. I hope you understand. So since I'm cutting two belts, I'm going to cut them together. So if you want your belt to be 2.5 inches wide like my own, you need to factor in 2.5 inches plus 0.5 sewing allowance, meaning that here to here on fold would give you 3. And if you open it up, it should give you 6. So now because I'm cutting two belts, I'm going to cut them together. So meaning that here to here would give me 6 because I'm cutting two belts. One up is one belt, one under is another belt. Okay, so I have 6 inches and then 17 inches plus 1 inch. That's sewing at the top and at the bottom. So I'm marking 18 inches. So we have all that we need. We are heading to the sewing machine now. On the sewing machine now, the first thing I'll do is sew my back facing to the back of the dress. So I'll notch and then I would top stitch. Okay, so I'll keep this back aside now because I will need to go and weave it. So let's work on our front. So this is our front piece, this is the neckline. And so we are going to be marking our 4 inches from here to here. And then I'll sew from this part to the end. Same thing too for the fabric itself. So after sewing it now, I can now open this place like this. So this is what you have when you're done. So I'll do the same thing for the dress itself. But for the dress, we're going to be sewing from that's our 4-inch mark all the way to the beginning of your slit. It has been sewn, so I can now cut open this part. So now we'll place our facing and this our top together. Like this. We'll sew the C part of it first on the two sides and top stitch it as well. So this is what our neckline looks like like this. So now we're going to sew each facing on that 1 inch line that we did and stop at that sewing that we did. So we are sewing facing to fabric on the 1 inch line. If you need to use a ruler to draw your line back, please, you can do that. So I'll do the same thing for this side as well. So this is what it should look like. Basically, you've sewn the facing to the fabric and this to this. And then we can now turn it over like this. We're going to trim off all of this excess, but let me just turn it so that you see what we have. So it will look something like this. By the time we iron it, it will look a lot cleaner than what we have here. So it should look something like this. It should be this clean. Make sure you don't have any bulge or anything. So now let's trim off all the excess on the back. So now what we're going to do is to go to the weaving machine and weave our facing like this. This like this. And we would also weave these parts individually because we're going to be ironing it open like this. So if you don't have a weaving machine, you can use bias to turn this in. You can use bias to actually fold this like this. The point is that it should be clean and that the fabric shouldn't be fraying like this, so that this fraying is not showing. So the next thing is our belts. So I'm going to sew 1/2 inch like this. Okay, so we're going to trim off the excess here. So I'm going to be weaving this part of it here by the time I turn it over. If you don't have a sewing machine, a weaving machine rather, then you can close the bottom as well like you closed here, but then leave a tiny place here where you can use to turn it over, and then you would sew that place close in front when you've turned it. I hope you understand. So we are back from the ironing and weaving machine. This is my belts, both of them. And then this is what my front looks like. This is the facing side. And this is the front side. So the next thing we're going to do now is attach our belts. I'm going to measure from my shoulder to my waist. My shoulder to my waist is 17. So I'm going to be using 17.5 here because we haven't joined the shoulder yet by 0.5. So 17.5 here. And I'll mark the same thing on the other side. 17.5. And then our waist divided by 4. My waist is 34, 35. So divided by 4 is 8.75. Meaning that from this midpoint to this place, you're going to mark 8.75. You're going to mark your waist divided by 4. So 8.75. So from here to here as well, from the midpoint to here, 8.75. Great. So my belt is going to be sitting like this on this 8.75. I'm going to pin this here, and I'm going to pin this here. Same for this one. So now we're going to sew here and here. Okay, so our belt is sitting nicely inside our front piece. So now let's join our shoulder for both the front and back. So I'll place both of them together like this. And then I'll turn with the back facing like this. So I'm making sure that both of them are like really close to each other, and then I use this to turn it like this, and then I'll sew. I'll do the same thing for the other side as well. Okay, so both shoulders are joined now, and then we can now close the side here like this using 1/2 inch. Okay, so I have joined the front and back on both sides and on the shoulder as well. So I'm going to go ahead and weave all of these parts now that I just sewed, and I will also weave this part, the sleeve opening, because I need to hem it like this. I need to fold it down, and then I would also weave the bottom because we need to fold it down as well. So for this opening, for the slit here, there are two ways that we can close it. It's either we use the hemming gum method, which is put the hemming gum in here, place the iron on it, it folds it down. That way you don't need to sew anything and your thread doesn't need to sew in front. Then the second way is, of course, we sew it down and our thread will show in front. If you are using good quality hemming gum, you can go ahead and put your hemming gum so that it doesn't show, because to be honest, it is cleaner when there is no seam showing on the outside. That's just the truth. It is cleaner. But in the event that you do not trust the quality of your hemming gum, basically, if you wash the cloth once and the hemming gum opens, you know you cannot use that for a customer. So if you don't trust your hemming gum, just go ahead and use your needle and thread to sew it here. Make sure that your thread is the same color with the cloth so that it doesn't look tacky. And then you iron well. Make sure you use like a clapper to make sure that you iron well so that the sewing is not that obvious. So yes, I'm going to weave now, do all the weaving, and then I come back and I hem everywhere, and then I show you my end product. Okay, so this is what I have. I'm going to give it a very, very good ironing. And then I would hem the armhole. Okay, so I've hemmed the armhole. I'm going to go ahead now and hem the bottom, and then we will go to the ironing table for putting hemming gum in the neckline, and that is the end. Please, 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 please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Send to your friends as well. This channel is really focused on beginners. Like I show you like what you should be doing at the beginning stage, whether sewing or business, your numbers, your prices, and all of that. So yeah, if you have a beginner friend, they should be on this channel. So I'm just going to go now to put the hemming gum in here and also on this side. So this is the hemming gum that I use. Sometimes I double it, sometimes I don't, but I won't be doubling it for this one. So I'm basically going to be placing under here like this. And then I've cut it at this point. And because this is crepe fabric, I'm not going to be putting the iron directly on it. I'm putting this cloth on this. So by the time you raise it, it shouldn't be able to open. So if you use labels, like clothing labels, you put it before this part. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this on so that you can see the finished product. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I truly hope that you enjoyed it. And if you are a size 14 and you would like me to send you this dress, please just shoot me a message on Instagram at @theonlychioma and I will send this to you. Thank you. Bye.